Hey guys, how are you doing? Today's video is about when he rejects you. Please forget to subscribe, like, and share. Let's get going. Good morning, Bakugou. You cheerfully greeted. You waved to the boy as he grumbled something under his breath. He walked past you without a care, not even sparing you a glance. But you didn't care. You bounced after him and fell into step with him, clapping your hands together and never losing your smile. You gazed up at him with practical hearts in your eyes. You couldn't help it. You had the biggest crush on the biggest jerk in the school. Everyone knew it, even second and third year students. It didn't bother you. There was no one else to show him any affection. Not at school, at least. He had friends, sure, but none of them liked him how he did. Your heart swelled whenever you saw him in the hallways, and you always greeted him, every morning. Your eyes were practically glued on him all day, small sighs of longing leaving your laps. You always attempted small talk with him. He never had much to say, not that he ever gave you responses or answers you were looking for. He usually told you to leave him alone, which you did. You believed in personal space, and if he wanted that from you, then who were you to deny him that? Sometimes you brought him and his friends gifts. The most famous one his friends liked to receive were cookies and other baked goods, though you never spied him taking a bite of any of your homemade snacks. You always showed up with some. Did he get the answer to number 7 on the homework last night? I didn't understand it all, but I know that you more than likely did. You're so smart. You complimented him. You could ramble on forever about how perfect he was. From his intelligence to his defined muscles, you could compliment him on anything he did. Would you shut up? He grunted, seeming to slash more on your presence. You didn't seem to let him forget that you were there. He hated how you came around to bug him every morning. He had to hear your voice every day, talking about something stupid that he didn't care for. He had tried to ward you off so many times, but you were President Leech. He was only happy that you weren't physically touching him. Then he'd really lose it. Kirishima and Kaminari told him there was just a little crush, nothing to make a fuss about, that it would pass. He was ready to blast their heads off because obviously they had been wrong. Mina had said that you had to be hardcore in love with him, and that was why you were so present. Well, he wanted nothing to do with it. You shut up immediately, nodding your head. You followed him all the way to class, making your way happily to your seat. You were stopped when you heard your name, though, and turned, smiling to the group of friends, seats in the middle of the room. Good morning, Kaminari. He smiled at you, but not in the flirty way he had. He was so nice to you. You assumed that it was mostly because of those cupcakes you made. He was by far the biggest fan of your baking skills, and he always wanted more. Got any treats for us today? Afraid not, but I can break some in tomorrow if you really want some. You beamed, clapping your hands together. He smiled widened, and if he could hug you, he probably would. The only thing stopping him was a row of desks. He sent you a thumbs up with a shining smile. That'd be great. You felt yourself get all bubbly inside. You did a little dance before continuing to your seat and unpacking your supplies. Once suited, you opened your sketchbook and started on a new drawing. You always drew in class. It was a lot more productive to you. You could listen to the lesson and keep your hands occupied. It made perfect sense to you, though you were sure Aizawa sensei wouldn't agree. It was part of the reason why you had your work from him and from everyone else, and it made it look like you were taking notes. The other reason you had your artwork from everyone was because the entire sketchbook, save for one person or 2 pages, was all full of Bakugou. You couldn't help yourself. He was just so gorgeous and handsome. He was a work of art himself, and you wanted to capture that. You did every day. You worked so hard in every sketch, pouring your heart into every line and shade spot. It was now to the point you didn't have to look at him for reference. You knew every detail of his face from memory. You swore to yourself it wasn't weird. Really. You just had such a huge, mega crush on him. Class went by as usual. As all taught some stuff and slept. Your classmates worked, and you drew Bakugou. There was no interruptions throughout the entire day. Lunch went pretty smoothly. Your friends started the same spiel about liking such a hothead, especially one that doesn't like you, they said, and how you needed to get over him. This was because they swore they would rather never acknowledge your huge crush on him and act on it, or he'd find someone he does like and leave you in the dust. Either way, they are afraid you were going to be crushed. Their pleas fell upon your deaf ears, though, as you were always dead sad on Bago, and no one seemed to be able to change your mind. When the end of the day finally rolled around, you were at your locker making an exchange. There were a few supplies they needed to restock on, and a few books you could return to the library. Both needed to be done as soon as possible, and you were planning on getting it all bought up and returned before you went home that evening. The halls were clearing fast, as no one wanted to be at school when they could be playing video games or listening to music or doing anything else. You closed your locker and spotted the ash blonde making his way to the exit. You felt your smile widen. Oi, Bago, wait up. You called after him. He didn't, but you caught up to him anyway. You slowed your pace once coming to his side and giggled. Didn't you hear me? I want to walk with you. Oh, he heard you. He always heard you. Your voice always made alarms go off in his head, telling him that he needed to be ready for whatever word vomit you're about to throw at him. He always found it easier to ignore you than to start yelling at you. One, because you weren't worth the sore, scratchy throat. And two, because you weren't leaving him alone, he was endlessly annoyed by your voice, which sucked because he couldn't help but growl every time he heard it. You could be 20 feet across the room, laughing with your friends, and he would get this cloud of annoyance laid over him like a blanket. He hated it, and he was pretty much sure he hated you. You were holding your sketchbook to your chest, your backpack too full of everything else to hold it. You didn't mind though, as you loved carrying it close to your heart. Your art was like a piece of you, and it always made you smile. Even if you were having a bad day, going through your work was always uplifting, or just doodling made you the happiest girl in this world. So, are you planning on doing something fun? He giggled. I'm going home, and if you follow me there, I won't hesitate to blow your ass up. He muttered coldly. You laughed, not exactly finding his threats or insults funny, but rather cute. He glared at you for laughing at him, looking away sharply. He stuffed his hand to his pockets with a huff, actively ignoring you more. If that was even possible, he knew he shouldn't have said anything to you, but he wanted to make it clear that he did not want you to know where he lived. Your burst of laughter stopped when you tripped on a rock in the middle of the sidewalk. You hit the ground rather hard, scraping up your knees and hands. Your sketchbook fell from your grasp as you went to catch yourself, and it fell up into the concrete. And Bago couldn't help but to look at it, and he stopped dead in his tracks. He felt as though his blood was running cold and boiling at the same time, because staring right back at him was a drawing of himself. He was horrified, realizing that this was what he did all day, rather than play an active role in classes. He picked up the book with lightning speed and flipped through it. One after another was a drawing of him, his face, his eyes, his hair. He hated it. It's worse than I thought, he grumbled, looking at you with full rage in his eyes. You're a stupid stalker, bitch. You looked at him, down on your knees, and feeling the seethe pain of blood soaking into the sidewalk from your skin. You shook your head, waving your hands around. I'm not, I swear. Then what the hell is this? He couldn't stop yelling. He felt violated almost. His opinion of you, changing from annoying kid, with a schoolgirl crush to a crazy stalker who wouldn't leave him alone. I just couldn't help it, you told him, standing on your feet. The blood started running down your legs, but he didn't care. You reached for the sketchbook, but he held it over your head, where you couldn't reach it. Please give it back. Like hell I would, he shouted in your face. He stepped away from you, taking the book in both of his hands. He suddenly set off tiny explosions, burning the surface and everything within the pages. It felt like something inside of you died the moment he did that. He threw it at your feet, as tears started pooling in your eyes. You need to leave me the hell alone. I don't like you. Not even a little bit. If I could have had it my way, you wouldn't even be here. You hear me? So just get out of my life, 'cause I don't need a stalker extras like you dragging me down. And if I find out that you dream me one more time, I'll make sure I won't be able to draw anything ever again. You picked up your sketchbook, that now looked like it had gone to hell, and came back to you. Your blood seeped in to the cover, and a few pages. You could only stare at it as you let silent tears fall. You gripped it tightly, your knuckles turning white. Bakugou was already walking away from you, but he couldn't stop your voice before you could think. You really think you're gonna be a hero? You're a monster, a horrible one. I promise you, I won't draw you again. I never want to see you again. You turned around and ran away from him, tears blurring your vision. He had destroyed something so close to your heart, something that defined you. It wasn't him, it was your drawings. Everything else you weren't so good at, but drawing and baking was all you had. Everything else amounted to nothing, and you had just blunted your dreams of love. Bakugou had stopped when he heard the first thing you said. It didn't hit him as hard as being called a monster, though. It shook him, but he didn't let it show. He turned, half expecting to see you running to him, even though he had heard you run away. But all he saw was your blood, sprinkled on the ground where you had fallen. Nothing else of you remained, and he felt a weird banging in his chest, like he had just been stabbed. The following morning, he didn't hear your voice at all. You weren't in the hall to greet him, nor in the classroom. He didn't see your smiling face anywhere, and your friends were huddled in a corner, talking to themselves. He didn't think twice about it, as he was sure you had told them everything that had happened. How he burned your book, and about how a monster he was. He had stayed up all night thinking of only one thing. How can I become a hero of a monster? He sat down in class without a word. Even when his friends spoke to him, he didn't even look at them. He didn't say anything to them. He didn't even really pay attention to the lesson. All he had running through his head was the look of pure pain on your face and the words it screamed at him. He was slowly realizing that he hated your voice when he said those words, because they had been filled with hurt and hatred. It wasn't like the loving and sweet voice used when greeting him and telling him about your patience. He missed that voice so damn much. When lunch break came, he marched up to Kaminari and demanded his phone. Dude, you have your own. Just give it to me, damn it. Kaminari didn't object again. He nearly slapped the device into Bakugo's open hand and watched him with curiosity as he scrolled through the context list. When Bakugo found your name, it had a cute flowered emoji beside it. His heart filled with despair as he had the call button beside it and held the phone to his ear. Each ring made his stomach clench, but it was the cutoff that made it drop. You had sent him to voicemail, where your bubbly voice filled his ear. I missed you, but I promise to call you back later. If it's important, leave a voicemail. There was the beep, signaling the beginning of the message recording. He felt himself inhale sharply, and he held it for a few seconds. Those seconds suddenly felt like minutes, as he realized he only had a short amount of time to say what he wanted to say. One. He paused for a moment, bowing his head shamefully as he felt his root become sore and scratchy. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you liked the video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Goodbye!